Yeah, but Alex has been very active during the pandemic on LinkedIn and other media with kind of what he is doing. I will not tell you. I will leave that to him and hand over the stage to Alex to tell us what he's been up to and what he can tell us to educate us and help us learn something for our next virtual meeting. So the stage is yours, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So just as a heads up, since we're going to talk about drawing, we're going to do some actual drawing. So I invite you to have pen and paper close by because we're going to get into that, especially if you're the type of person who believes you are bad at drawing. I'm going to prove you wrong today. That is my mission. All right. So let's get this show on the road. And yes, let me start off simply by saying, my name is Alex Glod. As a short, brief introduction, I'm an ISEC alumni, but in my profession, I'm a trainer, I'm a storyteller. I've had the honor of speaking at 3 TEDx events, 2 in Romanian, 1 in English, and the wonderful honor of teaching over 32,000 people online through Udemy. And today, I want to bring forward a subject that I believe is very important for our daily activity, especially in the past year. So let's go back in time to many thousands of years ago, when our ancestors had to solve some very tough problems. They needed to put food on the table. They needed to have strategies to hunt, to find these big animals, right? They had to cooperate, but they didn't have yet a proper language, or we don't know if their language was very evolved. But there is one proof of something that they did very well. They used drawings to try to make sense of that world that was around it and to plan hunts to make sure that their efforts were very well coordinated. Everybody knew their role and they knew how to approach these challenges. And it was an incredible innovation, right? Because drawing does something very interesting to the brain. It helps the brain come up with new ideas, right? It really inspires new thoughts, new patterns. It helps the brain make connections that weren't obvious at first glance. And most importantly, drawing helped people see the world with fresh, new eyes. Now, of course, fast forward to today, tens of thousands of years later, we are now the most amazing species when it comes to meetings. We're incredibly effective at it, right? There is no such thing as a boring meeting. No, of course, that's not how it actually happened. Somehow along the way, we lost sight of that wonderful practice. And now we're stuck in meetings that don't make sense. We're checking our phones the whole time. Sometimes we're just like, why am I even here? And now in the past year and a half with the COVID-19 and all the virtual meetings, more and more of us have been through this state of why am I going through this? And honey, ladies and gentlemen, this has to stop, right? We need to start a creative revolution and bring back drawing in the way we teach and in the way we organize meetings, whether we're talking virtually or face-to-face. And so today, I would love to first and foremost thank you for being in any way interested in this subject. I really appreciate it. And I will make a promise to you, a big promise, I know, but the promise is that you will become a creative educator and communicator with this technique, even if you think you are bad at drawing. All right, so if someone after this is still thinking, oh my God, I'm truly bad at it, I will do my best to persuade you in the other direction. And the thing is, if you think you're bad at drawing, trust me, you're not alone. That was the concept, or that was the place where most of my online students started, right? So over 10,000 students have joined my courses on drawing, especially now in the pandemic. A lot of people became very curious about it. And they all started off pretty small, right? With just a few scribbles on a piece of paper. They wrote a bit about themselves. But in time, they each developed their own style. They started using this tool to communicate about these incredible ideas that they cared about, or they've used it to make sense of their meetings, their trainings, to do wrap-up sessions or to explain ideas. But they've also used it to tell their story of their battle of, for example, here of letting go of the addiction to cigarettes, or this beautiful collection of symbols that somebody has put together and shared with everyone in the course to say, hey, look, this is what I discovered. You should try to do these drawings as well. All the way to people who have developed this beautiful skill, and you wonder, how is it that you began with just some random drawings and now look at this beautiful creation? This is something that we can all do and we can all learn. And enough talking. Now it's time to draw. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have here on the screen, I'm using a graphic tablet for whoever is curious, and I'll leave a link. It's a wonderful tool to have around the house, if you ask me, especially now with virtual meetings. And I'm going to draw directly in PowerPoint. I'm going to be a little bit slow so that you follow along. And afterwards, you'll see that there are some incredible tools. If you draw in PowerPoint, that it makes these animations, you create something that is just, you know, mind-blowing that not everybody has ever seen. So let's start off by first and foremost proving the case that anyone can actually draw. And how am I going to prove it? For example, we all can write letters. Okay, so let's write the following letters: O, M, U, Z, and I. Everybody can write these, all right? So let's see how we can use these letters to come up with our own drawing. Make a bigger O, like this. And we make this M here inside. Then we have a U, like this. And the Z, we squish it a little bit, as such. And then we just draw a lot of eyes coming out from this. And voila, what have we managed to draw? It's the universal symbol of ideas, creativity, and that's kind of the point. This is what we want to inspire in people's minds, these aha moments. Wow, right? So let's go for some basic elements that anyone can learn. The idea is, this is one important concept that I want you to get very close on, is that any drawing, no matter how complex, is always made out of lines, shapes, and symbols. That's it. That's all there is to it. If you just break it down to its basics, from here is just a matter of working with proportions, choosing your own style. But once you do that, you're basically speaking the language in, let's say, seventh grade level. You're not the most, you're not Picasso, but at the end of the day, the point is not to be Picasso. The point is for you to be literate in this language that anyone can speak. So let's see other examples of what you can do by simply starting from a circle. For example, you might look for a metaphor that we use in leadership. We want to talk about values. And how do we refer to values? We talk about values as being our compass. So let's use this to draw a compass. We'll draw a smaller circle here in the middle. Then these two sharp V's going in opposite directions. One of them we're going to fill up with color as such. Then we're going to add the 4 cardinal points, so north, south, east, and west. And then we can add another circle around this bigger circle. Okay, so that's one very useful tool. Another metaphor when it comes to values, for example, we might think of that type of light that most sailors use as a reference, right? Like we see the light that is at the shore, and that helps us understand whether, if we're in a storm, what's the direction, where should we go? This is a very simple technique. You start off by drawing something like this, like a rectangle. Then a half of a circle here. Then 2 lines going like this. Another line going this way and down here. 2 lines here inside the lighthouse. We'll add a door here. Just fill it up with color like this. Maybe add a window here. Again, fill it up with color. Then we'll need to add some beams of light. So something like this, like a V in this direction, a V in the other direction, and a few waves here so that we send out the message that this is a lighthouse. Right? So look at these beautiful visual metaphors that don't really require that much complex thinking, right? And as you see, I'm not trying to make them perfect because that's the point. I don't want you to get hung up on the idea that the circles have to be perfect, the lines have to be perfect. They just have to be good enough. And it's already huge because you're already raising the level to something else. But sometimes it's not just about what you draw, but what you leave out of the picture and let the people looking at the drawing fill in their minds. So for example, this is how we draw waves, right? It's a pretty simple technique. We can draw some other ones here, tiny ones. And you've already kind of shown this is the surface of the sea. Now, with just 2 lines, you will communicate something very complex and will ignite something in people's imagination. And look what you have to do. 1 line here and 1 line here. And this is a beautiful metaphor for danger, right? The shark that has just come about there to eat you. And this is something that we all have to think about, that in our businesses, in our work, there's always going to be a shark lurking through the water. And we have to remind ourselves of one thing, that we are all, and you've probably heard this phrasing, in this together. And how do you transmit that? You make a small boat here and you make these circles, let's say 5 small circles close together. And once you do these, it's a simple technique. You just do 1 line here, 1 line here, and another line here, and another line here, right? And you've basically sent the idea that this is a group of people here on a boat, and they're all, challenged by this monster, right? And it's that simple to transmit these visual metaphors once you understand where and how to build them. And the beauty of it all is that once you understand how any drawing is made up, you can then look for icons on Google Images and simply try to replicate them and see, there's a square, there's a triangle, there's a line, and you just play with that and you keep exploring until you run out of ideas. Now, these are symbols, right? These are beautiful symbols and images that you can use to transmit meaningful ideas. But another great tool in your arsenal is knowing how to draw people. Now, I'm not saying to draw them like a portrait, but rather the most basic form that still can convey a great deal. So one simple format that I like to use is like this. You start off with the head, simple circle. Then the body is something like this. Then you have the legs that are very skinny. The arms, again, very skinny. And then we play a bit with their feet and their palms. So here at the feet, nothing too shady, nothing too complex. And here we're going to draw as if they have mittens, those winter mittens with where you don't have really the big fingers, right? This type of character is incredibly versatile because you can put this character in so many different postures and that will communicate a great deal. So let's do a classic one that I always love, that I think most of us will relate to. So we start with drawing the head. And then we're going to draw the body, but like this, like kind of bent in a certain direction. Then I'm going to have this hand here, just follow this, like a very straight angle. Then from here, I'm going to draw a huge, huge circle. Look at that. Then I'm going to have a mitten here, like one of the hands here, holding this. Now, if I were to draw somebody, having this big rock, that they're carrying, if I have them with their legs like this, the way you see them on the drawing on the left, it wouldn't be that meaningful. But here's a trick. you draw the legs like this. And you've communicated that this person is really struggling, that is a heavy, heavy ball or rock that they're carrying. If you want to transmit the idea that it's more of a rock, you just add these simple visual effects and it feels as if, wow, that's a rock. And of course, you can even add these drops, either of sweat or tears. It's up to the imagination of the audience. And maybe that's how we felt when we had so many responsibilities to take care of while working online or having to do everything around the house, right? And there's a lot of versatility with this character because it's not just about how you draw the character, but also the context in which you draw that character. So let's say we start off as classic, with the head. Body this time will be mostly straight. We're going to have their arms up in the air. Look at that. Yay. I feel there's so much emotion there, right? This left leg, we're going to make it as if they're, on their toes. It's as if they're dancing. And look at that. There's so much joy. And then this leg is up in the air. And you look at this type of drawing and you're like, wow, that person is ecstatic. They seem very happy. They're dancing. There's joy there, right? But here's how we switch that and turn it on its head. We've learned before how to draw those waves of water, right? So now you draw the waves of water like this. And all of a sudden, we see a person drowning, right? We see a person that is asking for help. And these are the intricacies of these drawings, is when you try to mix them and connect them with other elements. For example, somewhere over here, you add the shark symbol, and all of a sudden, this already means so much more. And so I invite you to play with this character and to learn how to draw this character in different situations, because we empathize with a figure like this. If you want to make the figure more inclusive, because this has always been a question of like, this feels more like a straight white male, or just a male in general. So how do I make it more female? And here is where small little details matter. So for example, I draw the character. I start off where I usually start. Body is going to be the same, right? The first instinct you might have is to draw a dress, but sometimes most women don't really necessarily identify with that. So you need something else to identify. And again, you don't have to complicate this. You'll see it's very simple. So let's say this character here has his hand like this. The other one will be something like this. This leg here, straight and simple. While this one is going to be kind of like this. Here, we're going to have the regular arm like this. And at first, it looks like it's someone who's either laid back or just saying hello. But then let's play a little bit with images and stereotypes and use them to our advantage. Let's draw here by starting off with this little U, and then these two lines like this, and we're adding this business tie. We can even fill it up with color. And then here, we're going to add a huge, big cigar, right? I know that there are some of us here tonight that are big fans of cigars. I'm not saying anyone, Alex. Right? And we're looking at this and you're saying, oh, it's those machos, business people that don't care about anything. And, so that's what the people can see. But then with one simple switch, the image can mean something different. With this simple line here, now we're looking at a female entrepreneur, female business person who is top of her game, knows what she's doing. See, there's a lot of possibility, right? And this is just scratching the surface. These are some basic examples. But look, if you just find these little elements, your drawings will come to life. They will send a lot of meaningful ideas and people can react to them. Now, will everybody see the same thing you do? And maybe some will argue, yeah, but still a bit of a hetero male type. If it starts that conversation, that's good. It means people are paying attention, because most of the times we work so hard on our slides and nobody really gives a damn that we've put those animations and those pictures and whatnot. If at least they're coming to you saying, hey, I don't think this drawing is representative of me, that means they cared about seeing their face there, which is good, because from there you can learn about how to better represent them. So this is that. And a final tweak that I want to learn, like, there's a lot that we can get into. By the way, Chris, how much time do I have left? Just so that I know.
It's actually over, but I give you another 5.
Okay, I'll
from the Q&A. I think drawing is more fun than Q&A.
All right. So I'll be quick here. Besides these elements, you're still going to have to use text in your drawing, right? It can't just be drawing. That can really take you out of your comfort zone. So there are good ways to put your titles and your texts in a beautiful format. So let's say you have some ideas, right? And you're just jobbing them something that you're listening on a meeting. So how do you make this look more meaningful? So you have the title here. You put it in a rectangle like this. Then make another one, something like this. You try to keep the same height, but you don't close this end here. You just leave it open for now. Then you connect these 2 dots here. I'm going to show it to you slowly, like this. Do the same here. And here we're just going to make a V, like this. And it's a nice little tweak that just adds more livelihood to your drawing. And if you have color, you can also switch it up and add a little highlight here in the back. And you've added your personal touch. Then for the rest of the text, you can either use these very simple visual text box like this. So around the text you've written, you make these lines with a circle at the end, kind of as if they're nails. Then we have this big paper or box that is containing it. And this could be kind of a reference for a memento, certain ideas that you don't want to forget. And again, you color these ends here. Try to maintain a visual coherence in terms of color. You don't want to use too many of them. You can add these small bullet points. And in fact, you can even highlight some of that text, create this shadow effect. And even this small little thing makes the text seem more original, right? Or if you're going to use, let's say, a meaningful quote from the meeting, you write these 2 6s. You fill these up like this. And then around the quote itself, whatever, and the name of the person who said it, afterwards, you try to make it seem as if this is a idea that needs to be passed on, and maybe it's an idea that came from way before. You draw it as if it's an old piece of paper. And what you do is that you do this small, simple effect here, as you can see. And it looks like like a type of paper you would find in an archaeological site, right? It's something that is worth preserving for many, many generations to come, right? And like I said, you can, once again, use colors for these nice little highlights, right? And it just brings them all the more to life. All right. And the final trick that I want to show you is that once you make a drawing like this in PowerPoint, you can select what you've drawn, you click right, you group it, and then you go to animations and you use this animation called replay. And this is what's going to happen. It's going to draw that drawing the way you did it, but a lot faster. And here on the right, in the duration part, you can make it slower. So then when you use it in the presentation style, you know, it's going to look a lot different. All right, so that's what I had in mind for you all today. I wanted to give you a sneak peek into how beautiful drawing can be, right? How this can be a great tool for online learning. And if you guys want to learn this skill, I'll leave a link to my courses. I highly recommend joining and making sure that we all learn this skill, because not just for our benefit, it's for the benefit of all the people joining in our meetings, because we need to pass this example on. I want to see those of you who draw on. I would love to see what you drew as a nice little picture at the end. Don't be shy. Bring it closer to the screen. Well done, Sarah. Chris, I loved yours as well. Katarina, Stephanie, Sergei. Nice, nice, very good. Livia, Stuti, Pavel, Dan, well done, Dan. Victoria, Andrea, nice, well done. Pavel, I see you have your daughter with you, so I'm guessing she also practiced. Yes, it's also a great thing to do with the family. Like, you know, this is a good way to bring your children on board, and it's a fun thing. That's all from my side. If we have time for questions, I'm here, but if not, LinkedIn is our place to keep the conversation going.